Probably already heard this. You know, you guys, I get called all kind of people and all kind of trolls on YouTube, and I just want to say I have two accounts. I have Uppity Unicorn and I have the Only Chocolate Angel. There will never be another one. I say to you again, there will never be another one. So if you hear somebody calling somebody me, like, I do not have the time, I do not have the personality, I'm not a troll. So thank you for all the ones, Mocha Mommy. Let's begin.
Hey, my sweet babies. So, um, it took me a minute to say what I'm getting ready to say because I want to make sure I'm not saying it in judgment, and I want to make sure I'm saying it from a place of love. Y'all, some of y'all have given me the title of auntie, and I'm honored that y'all do that, right? But there are times where auntie got to talk to her babies and say some real shit. So, yesterday, I was in the airport in Atlanta because I'm in Jackson, Mississippi now at Chuckles Comedy Club, right? And we got 3 shows tonight. We got a matinee at 5:30, then we got 7, then we got 10, right? And I'm excited. I always love going to the stage. So when we got to the airport yesterday, I was excited, like, all right, baby, let's go get them in Jackson, Mississippi. And as we began to walk through the airport, I saw so many, actually too many to count and too many for me to tap. But I saw so many of our young sisters in head bonnets, scarves, slippers, pajamas, blankets wrapped around them, and this is how they're showing up to the airport. And I've been seeing it not just at the airport, I've been seeing it at the store, at the mall. I've been seeing sisters showing up with these bonnets and headscarves and their slippers. And the question that I'm having to you, my sweet babies, when did we lose pride in representing ourselves? When did we step away of let me make sure I'm presentable when I leave my home? Let me make sure I'm representing the family I created so that if I'm out in the street, I look like I have pride in myself. And I'm not saying no full face of makeup. I'm not saying no full front lace frontal. I'm not saying none of that. All I'm saying is, could you please comb your hair? And if you don't want to comb your hair, they got enough shit out here now, baby, where you can style yourself up and look like you have pride. I'm not saying you don't have pride, but the representation that you're showing, someone would have to ask you to know that you had it. So, my sweet babies, for the ones that do call me auntie, I love you for real. Even the ones that don't, I love y'all asses too. But the babies that say auntie to me, please listen to auntie. Always have pride in your representation of you. It's not to get a man, it's not, it is just your representation of you, my sweet babies. So I'm just giving y'all a warning. If I see you in the streets, in the airport, in the Walmart, and you got a bonnet on and you got slippers on and you looking like what the fuck, Nikki gonna tap you and say, hey, baby girl, show you what you worth. Show you what you deserve. So all of those posts that you see celebrities putting out there saying, hey queen, hey queen, hey queen, well, can we start putting it into action? So I'm asking our wiser sisters, when we see our little babies out there looking like they just don't care, and I'm not saying y'all don't, it looks like it. Can we just tap them and say, baby girl, you deserve more than what you're showing. Represent you with pride, my babies. And that may be a part of us helping our community. Because if you look like you don't give a damn, how you going to be treated? So when I say, hey, queen, I can only say it to the sisters that it belongs to. because a lot of us are still in queen training. So if you're in queen training, stop being fearful of taking your position. And queens don't walk around with bonnets and headscarves and slippers and pajamas. That's for the house. When you go outside, represent you, baby, like you are worthy and you deserve the title of Hey Queen. Nikki love y'all for real, and I ain't never gonna BS you. Stop wearing them damn bonnets and headscarves looking like don't nobody give a damn about you, nor do you give a damn about yourself. Because you beautiful. So represent it. I love y'all for real, my babies.
All right, so that was her every word. That was the beginning and the end of comedian Monique's admonition to the African American woman regarding wearing bonnets and robes and slippers as a combination in public. That is the full context, the full speech. There is nothing more, there is nothing less. Now, this is your first time seeing it, right? I don't know what kind of family structure that African American people are moving away from, because honestly, I have not been in the community like that for some time. But it shocks me that these people are not used to aunties and what an auntie might say who loves you and cares about you. Now, one of the things that peeved me the most is that there are people out here saying that she is Hey Zero. There are people out here saying that she is centering whiteness. She didn't say anything about white people. She didn't make a single comment about white people. But some of these younger millennials and Gen Z people are in such a rush to say the most woke thing that they can find that they superimpose things onto people that don't belong there. They start to fabricate and they start to like put words in the mouths of other people. Monique didn't mention white people one time. She mentioned, I'm in Mississippi, I flew through Atlanta, and in Atlanta, which is Black Hollywood, Black Mecca, Black everything, in Atlanta, she saw swarms of women, and the combination, not just the bonnet, not some fly-ass bonnet with a beat face and a lace front and hoop earrings and bangles and anklets and high heels. She didn't say that. She said, I've seen droves of women, bonnets, robes, pajamas, slippers in public. That's what she said. And these people have gone completely off on her. Now, here's the deal. If they were wearing the bonnet in the chic and posh way that they are claiming that they are, I would have no issue with a bonnet in public. But as a person who comes from the camp of a Shira Star Goddess, I do have a problem with Bonetta. And I do have a problem with what Bonetta's image says about African American women. Now, here is my personal opinion. My personal opinion about people who are wearing bonnets and pajamas and slippers in public is that there must be some sort of depression going on. It could be that you're getting on your plane, you're getting on your flight, your hair is wrapped, and you want to stay cute for the people who matter, and the people at the airport don't matter. I understand that, but to leave the house in a combination of a bonnet and a robe and pajama pants and slippers, right? Monique's description was complete. She wasn't just speaking about bonnets. That's a problem. And I believe that that is symptomatic of depression. And you are fully allowed to struggle with mental illness. You are fully allowed to struggle with depression. Lord knows every African American woman, just by birthright, you have a right to be able to deal with depression because of what we are faced with. I mean, Zio, here's the deal. They were saying that her comments were anti-Black, and I'm like, do you even know who Monique is, you child? Google Monique and Netflix. I mean, the entire career of Monique has been nothing but pro-Black. Her entire career, she has never compromised on that. And that is why she has been blackballed. That is why she has been blacklisted in Hollywood. That is why they are trying to destroy her career. And from the beginning, she was like, I'm okay with us. Us is enough. And whenever she would say us, she was talking about African Americans. She's like, we don't need. It's so funny that they're rooting her comments in white supremacy, because she was the main one for decades saying, we don't need white people, white people's award, white people's approval, white people's culture, white people's trophies. We don't need none of this. We are exquisite. We are a great group of people. This woman was given the kiss of culture-changing comedian by Richard Pryor, as in he passed down a certain mantle to her that he did not do with so many other comedians. There is a spiritual endowment that Monique has. And some part of that is her marriage, her spiritual marriage. She cannot divorce herself from the pro-blackness that is within her. So it just really rubs me the wrong way that these young, ignorant people are just like, oh, you know, she's centering. She didn't say anything about white people. What she said is that you look a mess in a bonnet. You look a mess in the combination of a bonnet and pajamas, like you do. You look sick, you look dirty. I remember when I was an undergrad and I would roll out of bed because I was so tired, and I would put on my UW sweatshirt and I would go to class. I would go to class, and me and like a bunch of other freshmen, we would have on these pajama pants and the sweatshirt of our alma mater, and we'd get looked at crazy by seniors. And one day I became that senior looking at these freshmen, and I'm just like, ew, take a shower, dirty. Why are you, I mean, people pick their noses in bed, they fart in bed. We don't know how often they have sex or change their bed sheets. Like, what is going on in somebody's bed is truly alive. I mean, the flora and the fauna of the situation, like, it is gross. And moreover, when it comes to the halo effect, I'm getting a message. Moreover, when it comes to the halo effect, Crystal and Karizan has talked about the halo effect to a very successful degree, in my opinion. But the halo effect is this: when you look nice, when you look well put together and attractive in public, people are going to naturally ascribe to you attributes that you may or may not have. So when you look nice, well put together, when you do the Whitley Gilbert in public, when you do the Angela Bassett in public, people are going to ascribe to you intelligence, morals, class, manners, kindness. They are going to automatically give you good attributes. And you may be a jerk, you may be a narcissist, you may be a psychopath, you may be a nasty kind of human being that nobody wants to be around, but just looking at you at the face value. Right? We see high value on Darren's face, so we know what his face value is. We know his face value is high value, but they are going to decide that you are high value based on face value. That is the halo effect. So if that is true, then the opposite is also true. And that even if you are, you know, the Queen of England, she can leave her house right now in a bonnet, in a robe, in pajama pants, and in slippers. No one's going to recognize who she is, even though she's got a very noticeable face. She's going to look like some dirty trailer park, backwoods, redneck, hillbilly, Bama. And people aren't going to think. I remember watching Queen Elizabeth in a photo shoot, and they asked her to remove her crown. The face that she made at those people, she didn't even say anything at first. She just made a face like, I mean, if there was any inkling of Amanda Seales, you got me effed up in that woman, that is what crawled and creeped across her face. Like, why would I do that? Why would I take off the crown jewels? This is who I am. This is my calling card. No, you got me messed up. You want me to take these off? We don't have a photo shoot. So let's see. I have, okay, I gave Darren a link. Exactly. This generation has a I don't give a F attitude and despises correction. What's crazy about younger millennials and Gen Z is that they have the most, they are the creators of cancel culture. They are willing to cancel anybody for doing anything wrong. But if they get feedback, like it's the generation of we can dish it but can't take it. Or I should say the multi-generations of we can dish it but can't take it. Like it's just a little bit of correction. It's just auntie looking out for you. And yeah, I would say that to my niece. I'm an auntie too, and I would definitely say that to my niece. So, Kid Murray says talking about the value of somebody is white supremacy. How? How? Especially with all these black people talking about we come from kangs and queens. How? How is that white supremacy?
My question is, what is white supremacy?
I mean, clearly these people aren't getting it.
What's up, Mocha Mommy?
Welcome, mommy. If you want to come up, I'd love to have you.
Yeah. What is white supremacy?
I mean, the supremacy of white people, right? It's an ideology and a religion for some, a way of life
Mm-hmm.
that
That
creates.
happens to be the footprint of the world right now, right?
Right.
So you could either catch the boat on the way up, or you could sink. So yeah, Kid Murray, I see you judging someone else's value. No, you actually judge your own value, man. You put your own worth out there, man. I mean that's just a fact. That's a fact.
That's a
It's,
fact. If you were going
and
to
that's the
leave,
thing. And I'm sorry, real quick, Uppity, real quick. So the thing is, black folks is what I never get. Black men, black women, black children. I guess black men and black women primarily. What we do is we try to buck the system. We try something. We have something in us that says, "I'm going to make it my own way. I'm going to make it my own way." Right? And what happens is when we try to make it our own way, we totally, 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 I mean, fail miserably. And rather than use the infrastructure that's in place to make whatever changes that need to be made, we don't use infrastructure that's there. We say, you know what, there's a road here, there's a road that takes me to college, and if I take this road to college, I will get a degree in economics, and then when I get a degree in economics, I'll make this amount of money, and then I'll be able to make these changes. I'll be able to, like, that's what I did in college. We built a road. We built a road in college. We said, this is what we did. This is what we're
wow.
going to do. So we use the infrastructure that's in place rather than try to create something new. And then we flipped and bounced the infrastructure. Whereas what I see with a lot of black folks, man, particularly black men, is we're bullheaded, and we're bullheaded. And what we do is we try to we bump our head against the wall again, again, and again, and we fail miserably. And I don't understand that. That's why I put "wake up" in the words of Larry Fishburne. Wake up. I mean, you can wake up and really realize, man, you can see it a bunch of ways. So
Absolutely. Jedi Mike, really quickly, this is Darren Marion, Mr. High Value himself. And Darren, Jedi Mike is a very young brother in his early 20s. We met him first on the channel of The Honest Truth, Jonathan. So welcome. Chime in wherever you want, Jedi Mike. What do you think about this?
Hmm. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How's it going, Darren?
are you a Jedi? You're a Jedi. You're still a Padawan, man.
Wait, you guys still hear me?
Yeah, I said, are you a
Okay.
true Jedi now? Or are you a Padawan still?
Well, I'm only 22 years old, and I don't want to be full of pride. I mean, I guess I can say we're kings and queens, but I'm a king in training, so I'll say Jedi Knight, not Padawan.
Okay,
But yeah,
right on.
but I think it's like I want to make sure that be patient, earn my title, and not actually, just be jumping to it, not be qualified of my name, Um, but going, nice to meet you, sir. One thing that I see in this topic here, going to uh what's going on with Monique and everything like that. It's just like you basically said it clear. I'm in college right now. I'm a senior, double majoring engineering and graphic design, and the one thing I see is a consistent thing of like there's not a lot of us as brothers here. A lot of us, we don't have this very competitive mindset. That I understand we can complain about the system, but one thing that my parents kind of instilled in me, making sure that listen, you know fairness, people talk about, it's never fair for black folks. I'm like, but we expect, equal outcome, but not equal opportunity and everything like that. I'm like, like outcome does also equal opportunity mean that a lot of people were given the opportunity, but we don't take it. But then we complain why we're not even prospering as a people, because we basically waste our time on things that don't matter, and actually, if anything, being self-destructive, being self-productive. And I'd see that consistently up on the young men's side, which is why like I actually launched my YouTube channel this week, and where I'm like targeting a part of my channel basically was targeting young men, because I think that's where the actual work of us in terms of as a community starts, is the boys, because usually as an adult, whatever, you can make your own decisions at that time, but and doesn't mean you can change your own mindset. But with the boys, a lot of them, they're not really, they're being kind of like, I don't say robbed of their innocence, but in a way they're being kind of forced into this category where it's like they're being told what to be, instead of actually having the self identity within themselves, but also being based in integrity, not actually chasing things that don't matter, what is like the rappers or other stuff like that, that actually not being beneficial to society, because at least it's a one in a million, but not anything sustainable, like being a plumber, being an electrician, being a welder, or anything like that. Things back in the 60s, whatever, uh, that actually was like kind of foundation, at least in black men in our community, that actually had sustainable income and wealth. But we don't want to focus on that, because who wants to be a plumber? That's what they say, not knowing that blue collar workers are making a ton of money. My dad, even though he's a pastor right now, but he's retired Navy. Now he works as a supervisor at the shipyard. And but even then, he's making really good money. Been working there for over 20 years now. But even then, it's just like a lot of us want to complain. Well, I want to look the part of actually, making the sustainable money, but actually having it. Like, what's more important, the actual fame and clout of success, or being successful?
Welcome, welcome, mommy. Chime in wherever you want to, whether it's as a response to Jedi Mike or a response to something you heard earlier. Warm welcome to you.
Hey, Mom. Can
Hi,
I say something? Can I say something real quick? Real quick. When I first got out of college, I was like, I was looking for a job, and I was like, I interned on Wall Street, but I couldn't find a job, in New York. I couldn't find one. And I was like, let me move back home to Indiana. So I moved back home to Indiana, and I said, you know what, man, I'm gonna go to U-Haul. And you know what I did with U-Haul? I wore a suit and tie every day to U-Haul. And they were like, man, who's this guy? This guy's a manager or whatever. And I said, hey, man, I'm a stockbroker, man. I'm just sitting here right now. This is kind of something I'm doing right now. So you look the part, no matter what. If you want to be a stockbroker, if you want to dress up and wear a suit to work, then you can dress up and wear a suit to work.
How well did you do on the stock market?
Very well. Very well, man.
I just
I beat a couple .coms, .com areas, all that stuff, man. So Y2K, everything. I've seen it.
Okay.
So, all right, sorry, Mocha Mommy.
Mocha?
that's great. But as far as what Monique is saying, as far as pride in our appearance, I think you hit on something, Uppity, with possible depression. I do know that being inside for so long probably did cause a lot of mental health problems, and I think that's um, the silent pandemic that we're not realizing about how many people have now increased the amount of social anxiety that they're having, and how we're forgetting a lot of our etiquette and our kind of our public decorum as a result of being trapped inside, and how just sales of loungewear. And I mean, I know when I was talking to some of the young women on our channel and in Eddie Adheem's Discord, I was saying, like, you guys would be surprised with everyone being so casual if you just make a small effort, and just how inexpensive, believe it or not, women's clothing was during the height of the pandemic, because no one was going outside. And I really do think that just that little bit of effort, it really does give you confidence. And maybe it is a little bit of depression, and then also a little bit of that lack of confidence to not want to maybe stand out. Now, I have a 17-year-old and I love her so much, but her fashion sense is, I try, you know what I mean? But I never doubt that she's confident. I mean, she is, Lord, I mean, I don't even know how to describe her style. Like Afro punk, homeless girl chic. I don't know what she's doing, but I never doubt her confidence, you know?
Yeah, that sounds like that's what's going on these days. The Afro punk. Kanye has people wanting to purchase clothes with all kind of holes in them. So that's a thing. That Afro punk homeless chic. That's definitely a thing these days. I
Yeah.
was saying something earlier about the halo effect and how people will naturally ascribe to you good qualities based on how you look, and why Zio said to act like image, to pretend that appearance doesn't matter. It's truly naive, and that's why I find it's totally not strange to me, the population of people who are attacking Monique, who are the population of Black women who are attacking Monique, because it truly is a naive thing. Like, she's not saying don't wear your twist out. So they're saying that she's trying to appeal to white supremacy. And I'm like, she's talking to you in a set of braids.
Man,
She's talking
Monique
to
don't shave
you.
her legs, man.
Huh?
Monique don't shave her legs.
I mean, right. So like, she's a natural. She's an old school all the way, because, I grew up with a woman like that in my church. She has waist length hair, and, people made jokes about the hair on her legs being the same length, because she's just that natural, like that much, but she would say the same thing to some of these young women, because she at least would wear tights, and we would maybe see the hair through the tights or the knee highs, whatever it was. But she's just like, don't do yourself like that in public. So we come from these women who would wear, because some people are used to Easter Sunday, hats on women. But I came from a church where these women were wearing these big hats every Sunday, where the
Yes,
motherboard
ma'am.
has their
Yep.
own section in the church, because good luck seeing behind them if they're sitting in the general audience. You can't see behind some of these decorative, decadent hats. And I'm like, these women would get ready for 3 hours to come and shout and to praise dance on heels. Like it was truly a sight to see. And mother always smelled good, always looked good, always had that red lip and mascara, always had that button up kind of like a look that is put together, and we respected them because of it. We couldn't tell what was going right or wrong in their lives, and part of that was because of appearances. And that's really how you want to keep it, because some things that happen in your home should stay in your home. But when you're wearing your pajamas outside of your home, you're bringing your home in the outside world. We're starting to see what's going on with you. And that's why I brought up depression, because, of course, I'm from Washington State. There's a ton of mental illness there. I was in therapy for upwards of 8 years, and going to therapy and participating in therapy and seeing other people, like, I learned so much from these professionals. I learned so much from psychiatrists. I learned so much from counselors and therapists, to the point where I talk like I've, chewed up a DSM. But I'm just like, I know what this is, sis. Because it would be one thing if they were like your daughter, Mocha Mommy, if they were doing the Afro punk thing, because that's actually a genre of style. Right? That's actually like, remember we used to be emo, and before emo, we were goth, right? And grunge, like that's actually a genre of style. But I'm just like, your pajamas plus your bonnet plus your slippers, because they're just focusing on bonnets. But she mentioned a combination of things. And I'm like, this is a cry for help, sis. Monique said it in a nicer way. I can say it in a way that is not so soft. Like, this is a cry for help. I remember there was this woman who went to Wingstop, and she met a rapper there, and she was dressed to the nines, and he looked at her like she was on the menu. And that's what the meme was. And that's what the funny thing is. It was this really big, overweight rapper. I don't know. But that was the joke. And then Shira brought it up, was like, could you imagine if she had on a bonnet? She would have missed her chance, because he ended up putting an incredibly huge rock on her finger. I don't think they ever got married, but that, $1 million ring is hers to keep. And it's like, she could have been the very same woman, and missed her opportunity in a bonnet and a robe and some pajama pants and slippers. Someone wanted to say something?
Well, I think honestly, when you're asking about like why people are coming attacking her, it just because you're right, she did say it in a nice way, but honestly, coming from Monique and just her, her nature as a person, like she could have gone off if she wanted to, you know. But the fact is, I feel like why is it that at least our people were not being willingness to be told when we're like to be better or anything like that? Because if we can't be told no wrong, then how can we improve? If anything, it just if anything, it's just saying that we're kind of creating a place. Well, you can't tell any of us that we're wrong. If not, then you're a hater. And it's just like I don't think what Monique was insinuating or anything like that was nothing of saying that, well, no, black women are always like this or anything. She's like, listen, black people are more than this, so stop putting this image that's kind of like giving basically what you call white supremacy or anything like that. You basically giving them the content for them to use against us, that we don't know how to maintain ourselves, don't know how to keep ourselves up to par or maintain, like able to take care of ourselves. So I just don't think that why is it that a lot of people are, you say on the women's side, are kind of going after her, and just as a man's point of view, it's like it's the same standard when like people went on Stephen A. Smith them like years ago when talking about you sacking your pants and everything all the time on men's side, and yet and people went on him. It's the same thing. I think that's unetiquette as well. So I just don't understand like why that in the back in the 60s and everything, like we were the people like talking about this is what black is. No, we lost our way. We lost in us being the you know people who had class. When it, like I'm not. My point is just saying what is this as black people we can do to bring back us as a people having class again. And that doesn't mean showboating. That just means saying, hey, we have a level of etiquette, a level of way we carry ourselves as a people.
Right. I agree. Darren?
Yeah, sorry about that. So I just put a real quick link out. Jedi Mike, I made I shortened your link to your channel. So all people need to do is just click on that link, and it'll automatically subscribe into your channel. I put it in the back chat as well.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Oh,
Thank
no
you.
problem, man. So each one teach one, man, so we can reach one. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So yeah, so just that right there, bam, and then it'll increase your subscriptions. But yeah, man, I remember like how my grandparents dressed. I mean, how now I don't dress like that anymore. I just don't. I swore off suits, but um, it's something about when people look at you, they look good when you got that fresh fade, the goatee lined up. Then that's the black man of the 2000s, man. You know what I'm saying? That's what
Yeah.
that's a shining.
Well,
That's what's in our excellence.
well, I can tell you that is, listen, like even my father, like told me this, like, listen, when you walk outside this house, you don't represent yourself, you represent us, you know, and we don't really have that in terms of standard anymore. Saying, well, what your reflection is not in terms of pleasing white people or anything like that. It's just saying, listen, we raised you, we taught you how to be educated, we, taught you how to take care of yourself, how to dress and everything. So act like it, you know. If anything, you disrespecting us, not knowing how, not taking care of yourself when you walk out of this house. And to me, I just don't think that we as a people don't do that anymore. Reflection, because we're just saying, "Oh no, you're a hater." We have this no, we have this no way of not destructive criticism. Because we obviously in this YouTube space or anything like that in social media, everyone just quick to go on something. But when we try to shift the narrative of like when it's actually not talking about oh the black people or this now or stereotypes or anything. It's actually, hey, listen, we as in the back like last 40, 50 years in the terms of the way we have kind of slowly derived away from what the people back in the 60s who fought for us to have the access to actually look the way we do. We're not actually basically putting respect on what they have fought for. And I
Right.
mean by that, it's like when we turn to having the standard of like, listen, I mean, I'm a professional man, I'm a professional woman, whatever. So you better treat me like it. But at the same time, I think it's just not knowing that it's a reflection of who you are. Saying like, no, you don't know who I am. You don't know I'm educated or anything just by me having a bonnet on my head or anything like that. And it's not saying this disrespect of saying, oh, you can't take it, but listen, just the first 7 seconds of you meeting someone is most crucial. Like first impressions are everything, and
Right.
even then,
Stick.
regardless of what you want
Mhm.
to disagree about, like that's it. When someone look at you and you don't come correctly, they're gonna have an opinion about you or assumptions, and you can't blame them for that.
Do you guys remember, and maybe you don't because this was something that I found really common with mothers under the poverty line, and that's how I grew up. So if you didn't, I'm not talking to you. But there was this thing, right? And comedians would talk about it, where your mom would show up to school, whether it's with your permission slip to pick you up or drop you off, and she'd have on that robe and that bonnet and those house shoes, and you'd be so embarrassed. Even if your mom was a beautiful woman and you knew she was pretty, you see her every Sunday in all of her glory, but it's like we'd be so embarrassed, in elementary school and in middle school, and like our moms would roll up on us in these robes. It's like, Mom, stay in the car. Like, I will bring you the permission slip. I will bring you with the teacher, like, blah, blah, blah. I'll come to you. Don't come to me. Like, the humiliation we would feel as children. So it's like, even though it's your mom and maybe she's got confidence and she's not trying to impress anybody, but it's just like, you represent me and I represent you. And so if you leave the house, like even as a little kid, like I would have children come to my school. I was working at a private school, and some of the kids would come with these worn down shoes and like these stained thobes. It was an Islamic school, and thobes are generally white. And this kid had on the same thobe 3 days in a row. And it wasn't the fact that he had it on 3 days in a row. I could live with that. But what I couldn't live with was that it was dirty every day. And I'm just
Wow.
like, what? And the neglect. Like, I see mustard. I see food. I see, like, what is going on with your mom? What's going on with her? And I mean, she came to the school, called me a racist and all kind of different things. But I'm just like, you got the dirtiest looking kid in the class. And I don't know how to help him out with being made fun of and humiliated because you've got the dirtiest looking kid in the class. People are afraid to touch him. They don't want to sit by him. And I'm not even going to hold these kids because they have a reason. They have a reason. Cut this little boy's hair.
Like Piggy and Charlie Brown.
Huh?
Wow.
Yeah,
Like,
you said
Piggy
before I
and
did.
Charlie Brown.
Yeah, from Charlie Brown.
The original Dusty.
Yeah.
It was painful though. Like, it's like, oh, we don't care what people think. We know but it's painful what some of these people are going through. And then don't be Black. One of the things that I learned as a globetrotter, right? When I used to travel all over the world, I could cut discrimination down by half being well-dressed because
That's true.
there's pretty privilege,
Yes,
right?
ma'am.
There's pretty privilege. So I can go somewhere and be Black. Like I remember Beyonce said one time, she said, I've never fought this is not now, right? She didn't say this in her 30s. She said this in her very early 20s. She was like, I've never fought a war, a race war. I've never been on the front of any racial battle in my life. Not even at a school, not even with a teacher, not even with a, right? And the interviewer was like, wow, that's a bold statement. She was like, I know, but it's true. And she was just like, if there was anything that had anything to do with race, my father dealt with it for me. Like he went through those things. But Beyonce was basically saying, I'm so damn pretty. People are kind to me. I'm so damn pretty. Like I might struggle with jealousy. I might struggle with sabotage, but like people aren't, dropping hardcore N-words on me because they want to be me or be with me. And it saved her. Pretty privilege. It saved her from a lot of maltreatment that some other people go through who aren't as good looking, or worse, who don't put any effort into their look. People are necessarily going to treat you how you look. Is it fair? No. But it happens. I remember when I was much younger in undergrad, I used to do this thing where, because I was naive and I just refused to judge people by the way that they looked. And that resulted in a bunch of nasty experiences that did include sexual assault by a homeless man. Now, it's not like he raped me or anything, but this guy like grabbed me and held me and kissed me up and down my neck. And I went home and I washed myself with bleach. And all I was trying to do was like give him money. Like I was just trying to give him money, but I was so close to him. And nobody would get close to this guy. But I'm like, whatever. They're just treating him that way because he's black, he's big, he's got 6 dreadlocks, right? Because the rest have fallen off. And I was so
he was crazy.
and he was crazy outside of his mind.
Right, exactly.
And he scooped me up, and I should have been judgmental. I should have said, ew, you're dirty, you look crazy. So I'm not like, but I wanted to not be the judger. And I'm like, this is why Auntie told you. This is why, because I was too young at the time to, make it make sense. And I got myself hurt trying to be this non-judgmental thing. And I'm like, look, everybody's judging and it's okay. People say you can't judge a book by its cover. I say you can do that about 50%. You can judge a book at least 50% by its cover. You absolutely can.
I have a call in 2 minutes with a developer. So I thank you so much for letting me be on your panel. Jedi Mike, I put all my math in the back chat. So you got all my email addresses, everything, man. Mommy is great
Yeah,
seeing
I got it
you.
all written down, man.
So y'all be easy. Peace.
Thank you.
Darren, I love what
Thank you, man.
do.
Nice to meet you,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So this Bitly link that you have is an automatic subscription link that he just created for you. I think that's very kind and charitable. Not that you need any charity, but like this is just his job. It's what he does. But anytime anybody clicks on that link, Jedi Mike, they will be automatically subscribed to your channel. Even if they just want to look at your channel, they will automatically be subscribed. So that's a wonderful, beautiful gift from a truly high value man, 6-figure business owning, whatever. And you know what? The Black Manosphere hates him. I'll just throw that out there. He's blocked on so many channels.
Yeah.
They can't stand him. But he's a good dude for sure. But what I'm doing with these photos, I'm going through picture after picture after picture of women in the 50s, and I can't find anybody in a bonnet. I can find natural hair, but I can't find a bonnet. I can find, some kind of a long sweeping hippie type of look, but I can't find pajamas or a robe or house shoes. Like, look how dignified. Like, even with her leg out. Look how dignified that look is. Right. There's class in that. And I'm just like, Monique wasn't attacking anyone. She was loving on you. It's called tough love. Like, you think Kevin Samuels is giving you tough love when the man just hates you. What Monique just gave you is actually tough love. And she didn't tell you were going to die alone. And she didn't tell you that you weren't worth it. And she didn't tell you that you need to lower your standards.
And look, and even then on his channel, he has the thing called the Bonnet Crew. And I'm like, listen, you have every time the like women that go onto his channel and stuff like that, not knowing, they don't even come correctly when he's like, where they have their bonnets or anything else like that. When they're on live and they say, oh yeah, you can show my video, and then people are roasting them in the comment section, and just like you basically giving them the actual bullets, ammo fresh, throwing shade at you, and just like I just don't understand, like. Why would you give him that right? And at the same time, you saying you might people go up on the calls with him and disagree, but like you're not even coming correctly. This dude. He even said this to yourself. Do not come on my channel and look unprofessional. Like, you're gonna have a webcam, your camera can be on, all this stuff, and you're gonna look correctly and stuff like that. Even before he brought the women on, it just like he wouldn't even have dudes on his live that had like a tank top or anything like that. So just like, listen, I mean, you basically coming up there and not actually basically giving him exactly what he's asking for in terms of like they're talking to the black women, but it's not actually in terms of edifying anyone. But Monique, it's just what it is going to talking about. Hey, listen, black women, go back to the way. What was the value when we used to be, where we weren't looking like like Becky and Karen. They were looking like us, and now they're trying to we're basically deriving from what we used to be back in the 60s or 70s. Anything you look at the not Tracy Ellis, her mother,
Diana Ross.
Diana Ross. Come on, like that, like she's one of the most beautiful women in the world back in the day, and like there was no like just the way she even just as a person just carried herself, anything. And yes, I know I'm comparing to a celebrity, but like just looks like that. It's just like you don't see that a lot anymore today.
And if you throw her in a robe with a bonnet with pajama pants and slippers, you wouldn't be able to tell she's so darn beautiful. Even if she carried herself the same way, because you can still be graceful. But I'm like, if you threw her in that kind of garb, you wouldn't be able to tell. Like she could go undercover. She could go undercover today. Well, maybe her voice would give her away and her mannerisms, but like you wouldn't see you wouldn't know that Diana Ross was Diana Ross if she didn't come out in all of that kind of splendor. So AI Matrix, I can't tell if you're being serious or if you're being facetious, but you said, did Monique watch Precious? And then you said, I like the judgment after dressing bummy. You know that's a role, right? Like that's make believe. It's pretend. It was a character that she got paid for. She actually, what did she get? Like a Golden Globe or an Oscar? I think
Yeah,
that
she
was
won
the
an Oscar.
Yeah,
she
she got her
was
Oscar
so
for that.
decorated after that to the point where you can naturally charge millions of dollars after getting an Oscar for any role. And her problem with some of these different people who tried to employ her after that is that they were negating the fact that she'd won an Oscar, and they were not trying to pay her what she was worth, what you naturally become worth in Hollywood after winning an Oscar. So again, this was not Monique that you were watching. It was the mother of Precious you were watching. It was a character. But Monique herself, she doesn't leave the house looking any kind of way. She never has, whether she lost weight or when she was overweight. She wasn't that kind of woman, and she's speaking with integrity. She's no hypocrite. Jedi, I see Mocha Mommy's left. I hope you come back.
Oh, I think she probably left. Yeah. Um, but yeah, it's just like I just don't understand. At least on the in terms of the man's point of view, I know the brother here before me, like us is like I know I'm a college student and stuff like that. I can tell you this. I don't like. There might be like rare occasions I see, cause I'm in the DMV area, but rare occasions I see some like black women in class who have bonnets on. But the ones, but it's kind of weird. Also, the distinction like the African women, the one like the Nigerians, Ghanaians, Ethiopians, they don't come in like that. But there's some African American women who act like that. Like I saw a few times and probably had it, but like in the morning class. But even then, still, it's just like love it. Just like you have to at least just come correct a little bit. Just at least have some type of
I definitely have seen that as a cultural difference, and it's one that upsets me because look, I went to an all-white university. I went to it's near Ivy League, right? The University of Washington, and there were 40,000 students, maybe 800 of us were of Black African descent, and maybe 500 were African American. So there was a ton of African people, according to what my population was, and they loved to go in on African Americans. And like whatever African booty scratcher they got called in kindergarten, they took all that stuff out on me. So I was just constantly surrounded by people who, in as much as they were dying to join, Divine Nine African American fraternities and sororities, they would still be talking crazy at African Americans. And one of the things that I noticed that I had to respect them for was their cultural pride. And I'm like, at the end of the day, I have to respect that you have pride. Like maybe I didn't respect them as individuals or things that they would say about Black people, but I'm just like, you have too much pride for a bonnet. You have too much pride to be that freshman who left the dorm in your slippers and house shoes and pajama pants and robe and messy bun. Like they weren't going to do that. Now, I did know some Africans who would leave without brushing their teeth, and I was like, honey.
right. Yeah.
Because some people would be used to having bad Ramadan breath. I'm like, guess what? It's not Ramadan right now. So brushing your teeth in the morning needs to be a habit, right? That would be my clap back, on behalf of my people. But hanging out with all these Africans, I'm telling you, it's what made me the type of African American I am. It's what made me go so hard in cultural pride, because they were always riding me. And it was to the point where I'd be like, well, you do these dances and you dress like this, and this is our culture. And this is, they kept me on my toes basically by trying to put us down so much. But
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. You sound good.
Okay, great.
Want to chime in?
Okay. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I do, do see the difference between us and our sisters in the diaspora, and I think it's because their parents really do instill it in them. And I remember my parents and my grandparents instill it in me, and I remember, and I still have things of my grandmother's. Fashion was passed down. Like I still have some of my grandmother's jewelry, and then my daughters carry some of my mom's purses. So it's like I remember it being like passed down, and I'm thinking like, where was there just like a missing generation?
Where'd you go? Mocha?
Yeah, I think her mic probably cut off.
While you're handling your sound, Mocha, I'm going to go ahead and respond to Mr. AI Matrix, who was saying, I wouldn't judge because I wear hats. And what I said was a hat is hardly the same as a bonnet. Even for some of these women who are in the airports, there are satin-lined caps for African-American women. So that if you are having a bad hair day, there are satin-lined baseball caps for you to wear. There are satin-lined beanies and kind of skull caps, whatever you need for you to wear, where you can wear that on top of your, your real hair, your weave, whatever it is, like in order to cover up the bad hair day. So if these women were wearing hats outside of the house, AI, it wouldn't be a problem. The problem is that they're wearing pajamas. The problem is that they're wearing truly inside clothes outside, and it's a messy look. But there are even hats with I can hear you now, Mocha.
Okay. Yeah.
Go ahead.
But yeah, the technology has come a long way as far as like what we can get away with. I mean, even now in the medical field, like the scrub caps that matches your shoes, that matches your stethoscope. I mean, we can get away with it now and to express our personal style. And I just do wonder, like, if this depression element has a lot to do with it, where you're not confident enough in your style. Because I feel like the pendulum swings either one way, where we're dressed to the nines to the point where we're broke because we need all these labels, to the point where we don't care anymore. And where's that happy middle ground where we're content with how we look?
Wow. Wow. I never even juxtaposed those two things. I remember when we were dressed to the nines to the point where we would run ourselves broke. I was telling someone the other day I would skip meals so that I could buy certain things. And I would just, when I was an undergrad, and I would just tell myself, it's okay. Your stomach is just going to look flatter and tighter and righter. It's okay. And I had all these Muslim friends. So I'd be like, oh, the Muslims are fasting all the time. You can miss a meal. They miss meals. But like in reality, like I would just be at Nordstrom getting, some shoes I can afford or some $300 weave. And I was like, but I'm going to look good. And I'm just like, what happened where you had that extreme where people are like wearing Jordans and all this other stuff. And then you just have, I rolled out of bed. Like literally, I woke up like this.
Yeah, I think that they're the same person. I think when they don't have it, they don't have their own idea of self-expression. And I think that's one of the reasons why I don't really mess too much with my daughter, because at least she's doing her own thing, like, But even though sometimes I do like question, like, you sure you want to leave the house like that? But at the same time, I do know it's effort, even though I don't agree with it. I mean, but then on the other hand, too, like you see other girls do like that. I think Yara Shahidi dressed a little crazy, and Willow Smith dresses a little crazy.
Girl, you just beat me to it, because I just typed in Willow Smith to be like, at least your daughter is according to a genre. Like,
right. But I mean, yeah, but it's still, but coming from like when my grandmother gave me like her vintage Chanel to this girl who's walking around with like mismatched socks on purpose. I don't think she's worn a pair of matching socks since like 2019. Like,
oh, I believe it.
Does it on purpose.
I'm telling you, women, we do it so much on purpose as millennials. And I guess your daughter is a Gen Xer or something, not Gen Xer, Gen Z.
Gen Z, yeah.
We did that so much as millennials, wearing mismatched socks to the point where they will sell them to you mismatched. They will sell you a bundle of socks that go together, but not one is the same sock.
Like Mixies, yeah. Yeah, and I do like in the makeup, like where you just draw on your face. I was like, really? That's a thing now.
That's a thing.
And, and it's like, I can't say pride in her appearance because she puts effort into making it look like she just woke up. But then there's literally people who really did just wake up. And I do wonder if it's like, maybe they don't have that sense of self-expression yet. Maybe they don't have their own personal style yet.
I can agree with that, but for people who don't have, like, because your daughter clearly has her own sense of personal style, and it's awesome. I think something about this Afro punk, this Afro steampunk kind of thing is chicken soup for the young African American soul. Some of them, they need to dress like that because of what they're faced with and what reality is, being Black, being different, not coming from the same, because these kids aren't gangsters anymore. They're not like walking around here sagging their pants, Bloods and Crips and all this other stuff. It's a new day. It's a new dawn. So there are other things that they're dealing with. And I definitely think that the clothing is self-expression. I remember wearing grunge because I'm from, Seattle, I'm from the land of Kurt Cobain. So part of that was just a local, right? Because we all look wet. It's Seattle, it's raining. But there was also an attitude because the Pacific Northwest is a place where people are, because there's no sun. So when the movie Twilight came out, it was filmed in my state because there's no sun. So the vampires and their background was conducive to the Pacific Northwest because there's no sun. And when exactly, but like the point is when there's no sun, there's multiple sclerosis, and we have the most multiple sclerosis of any place on the earth in the Pacific Northwest. So we have some of the most depression. We have some of the most serial killers. Suicide, all kinds of stuff. So when you get that Kurt Cobain teen spirit kind of music, it comes out of the belly of a place like that. So there was a need to dress and emote a certain way because of where we lived. So when I see these kids with the Afro steampunk, that I can understand. But the bonnet plus a robe, because it could be a bonnet and stilettos. It could be a bonnet and, a crop top. But a bonnet plus a robe, plus pajama pants, plus house shoes. I'm like, sis, I want to hug you. Like, as much as I wouldn't touch a random stranger in public, I kind of think I can give you a hug and get away with it. Right now, right here, right now. Because that's a cry for help.
You have a good point. You have a good point. I mean, I think perhaps that there might be something we might need to talk to, like she said, touch a young girl and say, hey, you're worth more than this, because they might actually just be struggling with, and I just can't imagine what it must be like for those developmental years to have spent it inside, when being social is so important. So maybe it is just time for us to maybe take more of an intervention, I guess, as the auntie generation, to say, like, hey, you doing okay? Instead of, because definitely it probably, and being secure enough in yourself to say, hey, I'm willing to step out there and make a new fashion choice. I think that's probably going to be another one too. Like, to be bold enough to say, you know what, you tried it, it didn't work, but hey, at least you tried it.
Right.
And there's my daughter with her right there in that picture on the right with the.
Yeah, like this is a look. This is an actual look. Like it's not like
all those flower and butterfly barrettes. That's her.
That right there. Yeah,
these are fairies. These are fairies. So you have a lot of because there's something inside of the souls of Black folks right now, and it's not limited to Gen Z, but because they're so young, it's hitting them hard. There's an awakening of going back to your roots and culture. There's an awakening of why am I a Christian, and what about African spirituality, and what about roots and hoodoo, what about orishas, what about African belief systems. Like there's this awakening, and it's turning them into something that like this hair, all these flowers, I can respect that. I love this. I love that whole red head, but some of these are fairies where they're so in tune with the earth, and they're walking around here, tree worshipers, and they're starting to be beekeepers again, and saving animals, and they're going to the park and leaving with pet ducks, and they're fairies.
Yeah, and I don't want to jump to conclusion like saying kind of predominantly I know it's Pride Month, but it's like a lot of that is kind of in that community, kind of goes into that look. Especially African Americans on that. But yeah, it's now some of them, I think Right. It kind of gets to a little bit to the fifth power of like when you and then we worshiping trees and all that stuff and universe and energy all that stuff. But it's uh yeah, is anything. I mean, at least it's giving them some sense of identity. I mean, um, but yeah, it's I can say like my age, there's a lot of those right now.
Yeah.
These younger Gen Z loves the 90s. Gen Z loves the culture that Gen
Yes.
X created, and they effing hate millennials. They hate our guts, but they love this culture. So you can hear a Willow Smith singing about a Kurt Cobain and how she wishes she could go back to 1993. So like you see that in their music and in their clothing and in their expression. Some of these kids, like you're not getting called a white girl anymore in their
That is true.
generation for
And that's
listening
true.
to Kurt Cobain. And that honestly, that means everything to me because I was so ostracized from the Black community for, my Kurt Cobain, Alanis Morissette, Fiona Apple, Ness. And it hurt so bad because I'm like, I promise you guys I'm Black and I love being Black. But they're like, nope, self-hating Oreo.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that doesn't happen for them at this, like they get it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
because
think what's
I'm
so
born.
funny
I
is
was born in '98, so it's like, I mean, I guess say I'm millennial though. I mean, I don't really kind of associate with Gen Z, but I don't know if I fit in that category. But
You're a younger millennial. Yeah, you
yeah.
qualify.
yeah, so like with that, it's like even then, even my taste in music, like I'm more like, even like I'm kind of like in the range of like '70s, '80s, and '90s. But like I like like Frank Sinatra music. I like old school jazz. Um, or Langston Hughes and stuff like that. Like it's my kind of thing. And I sound old for saying. It look like I sound old for saying that. But even though you're saying you like Frank Sinatra, like, folks, yeah, you say yeah. Are you sure you're Black? I'm like yeah. Like it's just like and then it
Like
goes to
it's
or you.
jazz, bro. What do you mean? Are you sure I'm Black? It's ours.
Exactly. It
Yeah,
is all.
either like Rita Ora or some like other stuff, just old school stuff like that. And it was kind of at a young age. I think like my dad, he just sat me down. We were just watching just old movies and stuff. And then my mom had like a cassette player and everything, and she just kind of like let me just kind of go through that. So at least when I was younger, it just kind of felt like this whole range of like I'm listening to music, and everyone's like, "What is this?" And like I was listening to New Edition before the whole BET movie came out, and everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we love like New Edition." No, you don't. You like the movie.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I lived for New Edition when I was a young girl, but I mean it was so funny how when my aunt had just moved into assisted living and we were cleaning out her house and her attic, and my daughters were taking some of my cousin's old clothes, and they were so fun, and they were wearing it to school. They were like, "Yeah, this is vintage Tommy Hilfiger." I'm like, "Vintage Tommy Hilfiger? Oh, I used to borrow that from your cousin Lisa. That's vintage Tommy Hilfiger."
Offended. I'm like, what do you mean vintage? I remember listening to like Old School Lunch on the radio, and I'm like, this is Destiny's Child. What do you mean old school? Isn't that old?
But I think it's kind of like, like Willow Smith and Solange Knowles, and it definitely is an aesthetic. And I just wonder, are we raising girls that are confident enough to find their aesthetic and to walk in that aesthetic? And even though there are days I have like issues with it, I know that it is her own form of expression. And now too that she has like a job in an art store, apparently she gets more commissions when she dresses
Right.
like that, when her hair is colored. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a thing, and I think it's a beautiful thing, like, and the colors are not like, it's not like how in the 90s we were trying to color our hair with Kool-Aid, or dyeing our hair at home. Like they understand that they need to bleach, they understand how they need to condition it. So like they're having this pink and blue hair, but like it's staying on their heads, like the more So it's a
No,
really good look on them. I love like these fairies out here. I really do.
no, child, it's the wax, and she's leaving a trail. She messed up all my good pillowcases.
Oh no, not the wax. Not the wax. I
She
went
likes to
gray for my
change it. She
partner with
likes
the
to change
wax.
the colors, and I was like, wow. But you know, the thing about it is, it does take a lot of confidence, and I'm wondering if these young girls walking around with bonnets, if they lack confidence. And I'm really gonna have to start to like ask about that. Like, is this a do you lack confidence?
I mean, when I hear you say that, I think of all the TV shows where you give people these makeovers and they cry looking at themselves. And you can see the tears falling from their eyes as if like they've been healed to some degree in how they relate to their own self-image. Um, because I like what your daughter is doing with the waxes and things, right? You have to be confident to walk out of the house with bright blue hair and everyone's going to be looking at you. Especially if you're a young girl, because it's going to feel like you're on stage.
Right,
You're going to feel like it's lights, camera, freaking action, because everyone is going to stare and you have to be comfortable with that level of staring. Whereas if you're in a bonnet or if you're in drab dark colors, you're trying to disappear. I mean, a lot of the colors that we choose are heavily related to our psychology and how we feel about ourselves and others. I see this bonnet here, Mocha Mommy. This bonnet here is not a problem to me, and especially because I can see that there is a matching mask. I wouldn't say to
right,
a woman who is outside of the house and this, like, oh, do you love yourself? What's going on? But you see, this is also not coupled with a robe. It's also
right.
not coupled with, I woke up like this quite literally. I don't know, maybe those lyrics got to somebody in the wrong way, but this is the kind of bonnet that Monique was seeing in the airport. This is what she was talking about. She didn't have a problem with this. Nobody was clowning Erykah Badu for, being the mother of this whole Afro punk thing. No, nobody was mad at her about that. But it's leaving the house that way, maybe, or this
Yeah,
way, that has become,
right,
what's going on with you, sis.
right. And yeah, and maybe it is time to start being more hands-on and asking those questions like, are you doing okay today? And
That's Auntie's position. It's what she's supposed to do. And we're supposed to respect her when she does it. If she taps
mhm,
us on the shoulder and is like, hey, baby, are you just the hey, baby alone is supposed to disarm you. You're not supposed
right,
to be this angry. And here's the old ancient white girl bonnet, where they were hiding their faces from the sun that they couldn't handle before they, had any
mhm,
SPF, whatever.
Mhm.
And they were wearing their bonnets in public. But, this is also like a mini umbrella, I would say.
And,
right,
you know what's funny about that? I see a lot of people in the comments or something like that was saying, "Well, white women do it too. Well, why are you going on us?" It's just like for me, it's like I can care less what they do. Like it's just
Right.
like
I agree.
I just it's just like even then, just like I understand more from an honest truth channel, or on this one or other ones as well, like a Black Light Revelation. Like one thing we're talking about, it's like, listen, I understand. We talk about white man, this, in terms of comparing the black man and everything like that. But the thing is, like, when we're trying to use to talk to us like our people so we can better ourselves, and then the excuse of that saying, well, white people do it too. It's like I can care less what they do. It's like they're not in my like it's like the same thing as a parent where you're parenting a child and you do something wrong and your friend, the neighbor who lives out in the street, whatever, your best friend, he does the exact same thing, but yet your parents get on you saying, hey, you don't do that. It's like, well, little Timmy, his mom and dad let him do that. It's like, well, Timmy don't live here. Like,
Right.
Right, right,
and that's the whole thing. It's like, why can we just at least have that type of mentality saying, like, listen, it's like, I can care less what you do. You live in my house. These are my people. Like, you're like, it's like we should have a standard with us and only with us. I don't care what anyone else do.
Absolutely.
right.
There's a picture of this Louis Vuitton looking bonnet thing that I just hit on. It was a guy and a girl, and they were wearing matching bonnets. Like, I wouldn't have a problem with that. The picture that I was just showing that I can't seem to find right now, her face was done. Her nails were done. Her lashes, her eyebrows. She didn't look like she just woke up. She looked like she got herself ready to go somewhere, and then maybe like if it's raining outside and you put on something to keep your hair straight. Like I'm not finding that problematic, especially because you saw on the bonnet there was this Louis Vuitton print, right? So it was a bonnet that she purchased to be shown. I really can't find the photo. Um, Let me see if I can type this. She was wearing something like this. It wasn't really problematic, but I feel like people are superimposing a nasty negative message onto Monique, and that's my problem with this. I feel like people are trying to pull her into the realm of respectability politics in conjunction with white supremacy. And she's got a history of being a pro-Black.
Right.
It's to the
She
point
does,
where
right.
she was given the kiss of comedian career from Richard Pryor himself. And some of the personal and private conversations she has had with Richard Pryor let her know that he was passing her a baton. So for these young kids to start superimposing, this like she's doing this for the white gays. And I'm just like, Monique has always said, I'm okay with us. I love us. We are enough by ourselves. And I'm just like, these little kids, I'm just like, do your darn research, honey. Google Monique and Netflix. This is not a white supremacist. This is not a internalized misogyny, internalized racism, self-hating. Like, she's not that. That's not her. She's really looking out for you. And you ought to put some respect on her name.
Right. And I really just think I don't know, like, I just feel like why do we have all this information but still don't know who we are as a people? And I just find like, I'm pretty sure you've noticed that a lot too over there in the honest truth space, like how we're so unaware of who it is we are, like as a people, like and our history, when we have all this information, like,
well,
we don't know.
it's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy to say that, because the thing is, the reason why we're doing that is because we're looking to other people to tell us who we are.
Right.
Is the fact that when you have our system, even the public school system, the fact that you're relying as parents, when we're sending off our children, even how misinformed information we are from public school. I can tell you this right now: if my parents actually telling me, reading my books, reading stuff about history that actually the school system wasn't taught us. The only thing I would learn about Black people was Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves and Martin Luther King got shot. That's it.
Right.
And unfortunately, we didn't know anything about Hidden Figures until the movie came out, and that's a shame. Why do we have to wait till a movie comes out to us know about our people? It's like even yesterday was Memorial Day. When all the things everyone talk about that, everyone talked about the Tulsa, Oklahoma riots and everything, and nobody didn't know about that until the movie series, I think the HBO series Watchmen and the Lovecraft Country. They addressed those events, even though in the narrative of their stories. So it's just like, are we just allowing wait till entertainment to happen to actually know our own history? The books are there. Why relying on that?
What was it, Mocha?
Or even the Chris Rock season of Fargo, like how some of us had to have a talk about our family history, because how many of us and our families, we had to admit that maybe, Uncle Charlie or, Aunt Josephine was doing something else to put those kids through Fisk. You know what I mean? Like that maybe we might have to discuss that in our own families,
Yes, ma'am.
Because I remember that happened with my dad's aunt cleaning out her kitchen and finding a distillery in there, in that back pantry. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, my dad was wondering why he wasn't allowed in the kitchen. Like what the heck, I'm pretty sure, Fisk wasn't cheap. That's how she sent her kids through college. So moonshining, yeah. So even our own families, maybe we just have to know a little bit more about our own family history. And like I was talking about how I still have some of my grandmother's jewelry and coats.
I love it.
We do have to maybe talk a little bit about, and now my daughters are wearing my cousin's clothes and my mom's purses. So maybe we just really do need to get into connection with not just our overall history, but with our family's history.
It's definitely our responsibility. I was saying years ago, and I feel guilty because sometimes when it's your idea, you're responsible for it. And for me, it's just overwhelming. But I was saying years ago that I wanted to start a YouTube channel called Core Curriculum. And the core curriculum would basically be African American history for
Right.
kids, so that, because the problem with so many of us first generation college students like you know, you've got, you know, you're from a dynasty of, you know, 5 generations of Greeks, whereas I was the first one in my family to go to college and graduate from a university. So not the first woman to go to college. My sister went, but she dropped out and became a 6-figure woman. I'm very proud of her. But I was the first woman to graduate. And I was saying African Americans end up with so many social workers and so many teachers and so many history majors. And I'm just like, we need to break that cycle. But part of the reason that was a cycle is because we didn't have very much knowledge of self, and we fell in love with these subjects on our college campuses. And, you know, we couldn't get enough of our own identity. So I'm just like, if we took these courses and made it, you know, core curriculum for people in elementary school and middle school and high school, then by the time they get to college, they have no need for a professor to tell them about the transatlantic slave trade or the triangular trade or, you know, Teon laws, like what Darren was saying he wrote about, and things of that nature. Like, they need to be armed with that knowledge of self at a younger age, so you can go on to STEM and you can go on to, you know, whatever it is, you know, being a doctor or something. But there's an incredible lack of knowledge. Like, I'll be scrolling through TikTok, Mokomami, and the things I see these kids telling each other, like, oh, well, did you know that? And it's something we all know, like freaking Birmingham and the 4 little girls who were bombed in the church. And they're saying it like they're telling you something new. And I'm like, oh my God, how did we fail you?
Right.
To what degree did we fail you to that? Like, they're like, did you know that in Birmingham there was this, you know, cocktail bomb and this? And I'm like, oh my God, like, you're wow, that's news for you. That's
Right.
interesting.
Yeah, and that's actually what some videos that I'm currently planning on working, because I mean to me I love film and cinema, but one thing I think is kind of like I wanted to target on some of Black people is that that in the last, I say since like the last, I want to say about 5 or 6 years, you've been seeing a tonal shift in media in terms of actually kind of almost uh, taking off the curtain of actually what was there to begin with, like in terms of the cinema, whether they're talking about the Hidden Figures or talking about Black Wall Street. But the thing about this is that why is it that we're allowing cinema in a way that, you know, not actually kind of in a way to actually to explore our history, because I think is going to the negative part, where is that we're allowing entertainment to run our community, you know, i.e. like in terms of the highest value people at least we receive in our community are either rappers or athletes and stuff. So with the next stop is like, well, if it's a movie come out, I won't know anything. But I think that's just kind of the age that we live in. But I just want to talk about the dynamic of what it actually things that are we just allowing to see cinema instead of actually reading books? That actually, because it's not about the actual people creating the films and stuff. It's just as a people that we're just overwhelmingly responding to it. Because I think that the cinema has a really powerful tool of influence our culture that I feel like we have not for many years. I think we just allowed to go out willingly and without being checked into a way that's actually just downgrading our image as Black people in other, you know,
Right.
in other parts in like Disney Channel with Proud Family with Dejanay and other folks like that, where there's like other characters that feel like they kind of like want to stereotype us that we just allow, but now you see they're just trying to undo everything they did before.
Right.
You know, so I just think that it's I think it's just kind of narrative that I feel like that they feel like they have to we have to be aware as people as a community, saying that if we not acknowledging that some of the history that one is being lied to as well, is that it's just kind of being fit into a narrative that she's benefiting other people, not our own. But I'm saying we're just not going to wait for the other communities to wake up and just say, hey, you know, we actually, you know, are teaching our children, teaching them a false narrative of their own history. Like, we have to take that back, you know. But yeah,
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. Yeah,
and
and
so
I
I guess
even
the
remember
verdict is
when I
made. I'm
was
Gen
younger.
Z, I guess.
Yeah, and do you remember for what we had Gullah Island? Do you remember that show?
And
Gullah Island.
together in the bright sunny weather, it's all good.
Yeah.
Color,
And
color.
then yeah, and then with my kids it was Doc McStuffins, you know, and I was
Yeah.
like, I yeah, I love Doc McStuffins, and Loretta Devine was the hippo.
Right.
Yeah, and
I
I was like,
am
yeah,
finding it so troublesome, Mocha Mommy and Jedi Mike, that so many African Americans don't know what a Gullah or Geechee is. It was Kwame Brown going live talking about being
Yep.
a Geechee man that taught these kids, and I'm like, oh my God, baby, come here. You don't know what a Geechee is?
right.
You
A
don't know what
saltwater
a Gullah
Geechee or a
people are?
freshwater Geechee. Yeah.
Like just saying that, I have goosebumps all up and down my body because it really shocked me. I'm like, what did we do? How do you not know what Gullah people
Right.
are? Because even my little brother, I mean, my little brother didn't go to college or major in anything, but like he grew up on Gullah Island. So all these different Gullah expressions and culture, like he knows about it. Or even like the prison in Louisiana, Angola, right? Like the word Angola, like we say it properly, but like if you go to the actual country, you swallow that in, and that's how you get the word Gullah. Because the word, they don't just say Angola, they're like Ngola, Ngola.
Mm-hmm.
So it ends up just sounding like Gullah by itself. And I'm just like, I thought we all knew that. Where did we lose the lesson? Like, do y'all know about these people freeing themselves? Do y'all know about how much land they own? Do y'all know about how many slave owners they burned alive? Like, do y'all know about the Gullah Wars? Like what's going on?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm hurt that they don't know. Like I don't know, something needs to happen on a mass scale,
Right.
where this stuff happens to African American kids in elementary school.
And
Right.
like I said, it starts at home, though. I have to. I mean, because thing is, I just said talk. I encourage, even though I'm not a parent. Thank God, not anytime soon. But my thing is just as we have to make sure as a people that listen. You cannot send your kid to school and to learn. Like they're gonna be sent to school to be indoctrinated, whether you want to like it, whether you like it or not. They need to learn in your household. That's where it starts. And if you don't have that at all, you cannot just allow your kids just to have summer reading based off what the school provides for them. You give that to them in the house. You don't give them in the way it's like go on Spark Notes. I know I've been there, done it. Where you just look at the summer reading just like 2 weeks before prior to the assignment, and instead of actually books that your parents actually give to you. I've done it. I mean, but my thing is my mom, even though I'm like a first generation college student, it just the whole purpose was just saying, hey, listen, I want you as my legacy to be, you want to surpass me, as in terms of, I don't want you to just stay complacent in our community and stuff, and I want you to learn things I don't know. So there's some things when I talk to my dad about what I've researched, he's like, wait, what are you talking about? And like I show it to him, like, oh, okay, I didn't know that. But it is also the curiosity of my dad encouraging me you have to question why. Always ask questions. You have to question people, like why you think the way you do, why people do the things they do. Because if people don't ask you why, they're tend to want to keep you powerless.
Right. I
Absolutely.
agree.
I love that the real Aaron Collins put this comment up about Creole being embedded into the Gullah Geechee culture, which, I mean, the Gullah Geechee culture hits me more as a North South Carolina thing, and Creoles definitely hit me more as Louisiana, but there is definitely where they collide, so I'm not disagreeing. But something that reminded me of what we're discussing now when he said Creole is that there is this little black girl, little mixed black girl, on TikTok, and she went super duper TikTok viral for getting into fights with people for saying Beyonce's not black. She was like, first of all, she's Caribbean because she says herself that she's a Creole. And I'm like, baby, do you not know that Creole people are in Louisiana? Like the lyrics of my daddy, Alabama, mama, Louisiana. You
Yeah.
mix that Negro with that Creole, make a Texas. I'm like, did you not listen to the song? What is wrong? So
But
yeah.
but one thing that's so crazy is how much my kids learned about our history as a people on this side of the planet from going back to where my husband is from and going to visit Luisa, Puerto Rico. Like that has been preserved. I mean, because that was a slave drop off, and not all the time they were successful. And of those 5 barrios, 3 of them were marooned slave cultures. And it was so crazy because when my husband had to describe me to his grandma, like I took him to like a step show and a stroll, and the way he described it to his grandmother was like, oh, like it's like they do in Louisa, you know, and that's how she like was able to relate, like, oh, okay, so that's, you know, that's kind of like the woman you married. And it was crazy. And like one of the first things she cooked for me was pigeon peas and rice, knowing that about my culture. And I was like, you know what I mean? And it was like, and just seeing how much, you know, and just seeing like how much Black women have been such preserved, have preserved our culture on this side of the planet. And I think that maybe with this whole thing with the bonnet, like maybe we need to like instill some of that pride again. Like, yeah, wrapping your hair is great to protect it, but let's try to protect it in a way that honors who you actually are.
I mean, we were talking earlier about that Badu, right? No one was mad at Erykah Badu for wearing those 3-foot tall turbans, you know? No, nobody was mad. We thought it was amazing.
Right.
Like there are better ways to do it. There are better ways to do it. Like sometimes because coming from the Pacific Northwest made me really, really a type of way about white people and their hygiene in their hair, because I grew up with them. So there are times on the bus where like, I don't want my skin to touch anything on the bus. I don't want my skin or hair to touch anything. So, lice, there are forms of lice in the Pacific Northwest that are very impressive. I mean, highly impressive. I mean, they are so big, you can see them visibly with your eyes. Just sitting on every strand of hair. So I would put on a bonnet or a silk scarf and then wrap my hijab around it, whether it was like, you can wrap a scarf where it looks like a ponytail on your head. You can wrap it where it looks like a turban. You can wrap it where it looks like, I mean, there are all kinds of things. But the point was, like, my hair would be covered in style. It wouldn't just be a bonnet looking like, I picked my nose with it in the morning. It would be covered, but in style.
Yeah. But thank you for having this panel, but I have to go. But thank you so much for having this. And maybe like now I'll take that time to intervene to really ask maybe what's going on, because like you said, it could be a symptom of depression. And maybe this just might be time to kind of reach out to our sisters to make sure that they're okay. So thank you for that.
Oh, anytime.
Yeah, thank you.
It's always a blessing to have you here. Mm-hmm. I think I am actually going to wind down myself as well, because it is pretty early in the morning, Jedi.
Yeah, no, I have to get up to work early around like 7. So I was like, okay, I'm already up anyway, and saw you were live. So, but yeah.
Oh, nice. All right, awesome. So it's a little alarm clock. We have a new moderator, the real Aaron Collins. Thank you so much, Darren, for recommending that as a deity level member. That is my membership. That is $100 a month. So again, Jedi, I mean, you found a really good supporter in Mr. Darren Marion. He's a good guy to have on your team. Hey, behind the bar, it's been a while. Hey, you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And like, I have like today, I'll be like dropping like had the videos I had edit, because like I had some movie reviews that I do as well. But I'm like still working on the other video. I'm working on talking about the parable of Black people that I'm making, that I'm kind of releasing the end of this week. But yeah, I do appreciate your support, everyone in the chat and the panel and everything. I know like kind of getting into this space, I know this is probably some unwanted territory, and just in terms of whatever comes happen. People might not disagree with the message, but I just feel like, just as me, like even though I'm 22 years old, that I just believe that at least if I'm starting this at a young age, knowing that I feel like targeting the younger folks about this, I've at least that. And we're growing as a collective, just trying to go back to reclaiming our image as men, or just our image as Black people entirely. Because even then, I feel like there's gonna be some like, women probably would disagree, which is your message, like with disagreeing with or agreeing with Monique and everything. And it's not saying that they automatically they try to associate, or probably, you're just like Kevin Samuels, when he's kind of going on to like, no, there's a difference. Is a difference we're talking about. Is like we're talking about having class as Black people, not in terms of just letting our just image be out there, be thrown, and letting us be other people to define who we are,
Yeah.
So, but I just want to say thank you. And I'll be on my panel next time and everything, but I hope you have a good rest of your day.
You too. Thank you so much for coming up. I appreciate this so much, especially because I mean you are 22 and you are so young, and I'm realizing that there's a disconnect in between the generations, and we kind of have to put that back together because the lack of self knowledge is really it's really painful to watch African Americans descend back into a lack of self knowledge after having knowledge of self, to go back into being a tree without roots that just doesn't grow. So I love that you're around. I thank Jonathan for putting you in our line of sight because this is some stuff that we have to fix. And with the way that Black YouTube can be so toxic and so full of, you know, gender war, it's nice to finally have conversations where we can actually heal ourselves and better our community. So thank you so much for being here. Not gonna hold you. I know you've got to go to work and, you know, work on your high value man status. So thank you everybody for joining me. I really appreciate this from you. Definitely book a stock market consultation with Real Deal Financial at creditbuilder475@gmail.com. He's always talking about getting to the money. Definitely with any panel he hops onto, no matter what the subject is, he'll throw that in there, like just getting to the money. And that's something we also need to be focused on as a people, and not a gender war, and not even bonnets, but getting to the money. Anyhow, I am